What is going on, guys? Welcome to another video. I want to talk about the DJI Avata 2 in 2025. Now, this drone has been out for quite a while already, and I want to preface this entire video by saying that yes, I think this is the best FPV drone money can buy, and no, I actually never owned an Avata 2, and that I am pretty much what I would consider a FPV purist. All my drones I build myself. I do not buy ready-to-fly kits. I do decide on every and each component that I want to put into my drones. And the reason for that is obviously customizability, which is probably the same reason that if you were an FPV guy, you go the same route as me. That being said, a friend of mine does own the DJI Avata 2, and I do fly with him pretty often. And I gotta say, I think that I really did some very big lapses of judgment when it comes to the decision to not buy the Avata 2, but to instead buy all these other components that I currently own. I also gotta say that when the Avata 2 came out, I was kind of unfazed, thinking it's a great drone, probably. I actually owned the Avata 1, and it was my first FPV drone, and it did give me some great times as well as very bad times. But yeah, with the Avata 2, I was already way too deep into FPV that I wanted to buy it and decided that I just won't. Being on a couple of shoots with my friend and actually flying the Avata myself and actually seeing the entire ecosystem that DJI provides for this drone is simply amazing, honestly. I'm at a point where I really regret not buying it, especially because it's really not that expensive. You can get the entire set used for like $800 or something. You know, I already have the goggles 3 for the 04, and I can get an Avata with the Flymore kit and the controller for like 600 bucks. So yeah, in this video I will talk about the many amazing things about the Avata 2 and also the many not so amazing things. Although I gotta be honest, there are not many. Let's start with the first obvious thing, the camera. The Avata 2 basically has the 04, or does the 04 has the Avata 2 camera? You decide. It's the same thing. Same frame rates, same bit rates, same alt, everything. Amazing camera. If you ask me, I absolutely love the 04. I actually, before the 04, flew the Action 4, which is also the same camera. I think it is genuinely good enough. It is not amazing, it is not Action 5 level, it is during the day not GoPro 13 level, but it is genuinely good enough. You know, 80-20 rule, Pareto's principle, when is good enough, good enough. It is right now with the 04 and the Avata 2. Will the next Avata be better? Will the 05 be better? Do we even have to talk about it? But as of right now, it is good enough to not need an external action camera. Great camera. The next thing that is connected to the camera is obviously the gimbal. And this is one of the things where I really like the Avata 2. The gimbal is so useful. It is so easy to adjust. You know, if you're an FPV guy, you know exactly how the process works with our drones. We land these things, then adjust the angles, and then fly, and then realize, oh yeah, maybe I should get a little bit of a steeper or lower angle, and then we lower it again or increase it again. And it's janky, it's not intuitive, it's not simple. Obviously, if you're used to it, it's not like a huge issue. You do it before each flight, and if you're advanced in FPV, you also know when you need what angle, but still, it's just fucking convenient to change on the fly, literally. And I know nowadays we have gimbals for the 04, this one thing that's only like 60 grams, but then again, you need like ideally another controller or a dedicated scroll wheel. It's not that insane, it's not that much of a workaround, but it's just so much simpler to just have it entirely in one product already. Do not think about it, get this drone and it's all done. You know, this is the convenience of DJI drones, and it's always been. The next thing that's really outstanding is something that at first I thought nobody actually needs, but does actually need, especially if you're a professional. If you fly drones in a professional setting, this is the best thing the Avata actually has, which is the normal flight mode. This mode is so OP, I probably don't have to explain to you what it is, but you simply just hover without any stick inputs. The drone doesn't go anywhere, it doesn't deviate if it has enough light for the downward sensors and satellites available. But apart from that, you can perfectly fly in straight lines. You can take perfect turns and just fly with an unimaginable amount of control. And now I guess what the FPV purists will say, what I initially also said was like, just learn how to properly fly a manual FPV drone. Just learn throttle control. And I gotta say, at this point, I just do not want to do that anymore. I like, when I fly FPV, I fly big swoopy motions. I'm more into somewhat proximity freestyle and long range FPV. I do not need extreme precision, and I use a lot of momentum management, if that's a term. And I would say that I fly decently well at this point, but then to fly straight without pulsing up and down, especially when turning corners, is so freakingly difficult. I'm right now now in a resort, and this is not the first resort that I flew for. I have this 3-inch, which was a 2.5-inch with ducts, and it was just so tedious. And I know from the Avata 1 that it can be so incredibly easy. It doesn't have to be that difficult just because you are a, manual pilot. You can simply fly normal mode on the Avata 2, and it's so simple. Also, the normal mode just makes it way more safe because you just fly controlled in a line. You can take easy turns. You never go up and down. And if there are people involved, I'm pretty kind of uncomfortable flying normal FPV drones. Not that I don't. I actually flew my 5-inch around people, but that's another story. Okay, don't hate on the comment. I know what you're gonna say. This is not safe, but I know my skill good enough to also say that it's not good enough for very controlled fly-throughs of places and spaces. So if you're shooting mainly professional, the Avata 2 is just the best tool for the job. There's always some noise when you want to chill and record a video for your beloved YouTube audience. Let's go inside. Welcome to my bedroom, I guess. You gotta use what you have, eh? So yeah, for every professional setting, I think the Avata 2 is the way to go, and I do regret not having it. Another thing that makes the Avata 2 obviously insane is the battery life. You can, with this thing, just fly forever. Insane how long the battery lasts on this thing. And it's only a 3-inch with a pretty bad weight, which we'll get to later. 450 grams, 3-inch, and it flies for 20 fucking minutes. Show me a custom-made drone with that weight that can fly for that long with these small batteries. It's possible, but it's definitely not straightforward. You can fly for 1 hour almost with 3 batteries. Do you know how many FPV batteries, traditional ones, it takes to fly 1 hour? Like, I'm happy when I fly 5 minutes. That's a good performance right there. I know 6 to 10 should be better, but if I'm flying 5 minutes without draining the cells too much, I'm pretty happy. The Avata is an extremely convenient drone with a great camera. It's super straightforward, and all the DJI assist features are, simply put, great. There's a whole amazing load of technology in this drone that makes it simply awesome. And I do consider if I should get one or not. I don't have that many drone shots actually where it would make sense, but if I would do more of these hotel shoots or in general drone productions, I would certainly get an Avata 2 because this is the right tool for the job. But let's talk about some downsides now, because there are some. The first is something as a FPV purist you might appreciate, you might not, is the fact that you cannot change anything about the drone. You cannot configure and customize it all too much. For the Avata 1, for example, I converted it to the 3.5-inch Axis flying kit that you might know or not, but it flew way better, and technically, theoretically, if you wanted to, you could convert it to a 4-inch or, open prop 3-inch or 5-inch or whatsoever. Possibilities are endless. I might have even done it if I knew more about drones. But you cannot do any of that on the Avata 2. I would actually love to have a Avata 2 that's a 5-inch open prop, or let's do 4-inch, though, because the motors 4S might be tricky. The ESC probably can't handle that much, although with the Avata 2 I don't know about that. It could very well be much upgraded when it comes to the ESC rating, but nobody knows and nobody cares because you cannot just switch the body out. You really have to shitty rig your thing through a custom build if you wanted that. Nobody ever tried that. Rimsler actually took the ducts off, but for what cost? It just looks terrible and the improvements are probably not too awesome as he concluded. You also cannot repair anything yourself. My friend, for example, has a broken motor. It's not properly broken, but it's like a little jammed and it makes noises and it's kind of unsettling if you ask me. I would have long just swapped out the motor. Well, you can't. You cannot just change the motor. I mean, I guess you can if you cut the wires, open it up or something, and then solder them together there, but it's just super counterintuitive. What if the frame cracks? With the Avata 1, you could just exchange everything yourself. With this thing, none of that's possible. You gotta give it to DJI, and that's never a good solution, if you ask me. From experience, they charge too much, and it also just takes too long, especially if you're on a shoot. There were many instances where my drone had an issue, and I just fixed it myself immediately then and there. Not possible with Avata 2. You are screwed. We also have a high weight, as I mentioned. 450 grams for a 3-inch ducted whoop is pretty fucking heavy. That being said, because it's so heavy, you actually have also a bit of a better handling when it comes to the drone. You also have a bit of a better acceleration. Now, obviously, that always depends on the camera angle and whatnot, but because you basically fall faster, you don't have to have such high of an angle, and you can just fly faster with a lower angle. Most of the time, if you shoot like resorts or something, you anyways fly with a pretty damn straight angle of about 0 degrees actually. So yeah, it is kind of a rock, and the thrust to weight ratio is really not that awesome, but it does perform pretty well for what it is while having amazing battery life. And in that regard, the weight doesn't really matter that much. It maybe does when you crash, but you know, that's about it. The build quality is pretty good. My friend also had a few nasty crashes, really bad, and nothing happened. So the weight is kind of an issue depending on what you think. If you want to freestyle this thing, it is probably not the right choice for you, but if you want to like somewhat do a few freestyle moves like dives and split S's, it's still perfectly possible. You know, there's no issue that comes with this drone other than that it kind of is a brick, pretty heavy, which also then kind of gives it better momentum. I do like heavier drones for freestyle. I fly the Apex, and I do really like that once I super punch the throttle that it just flies forever without me because of the inertia or momentum. That technically is the same for the Avata 2, but again, I don't know if it's the best freestyle drone. It's certainly not. But if you're just starting out, this is probably the best to learn freestyle on, if not a used Avata 1. But the price of the Avata 2 is so cheap, honestly. You can get a drone for like 300-400, just the drone. Like, show me a proper 04 Cinewhoop that you can buy for the same price. Yep, you probably can, but if you want really nice motors and all that, it's a thing to consider. Another thing that I personally find is depending on how you see it, drawback about the Avata 2 is that you cannot control it with any other controller than the DJI remotes. I love the Tango 2. It is, for me, for my hands, the best controller ever made. You know, we don't have to argue about protocol or whatever, but just the way the gimbals feel, the length of the sticks, everything's just perfect for me when it comes to the Tango 2. And the Avata 2 is a similar form factor. Actually, it's super amazing when it comes to that. It's ridiculously light. The battery life is insane, and it's pretty damn small. And I also think it lays in the hands pretty well. But the gimbals are so bad, bro. They are simply super loose. You cannot make them tighter. The travel is really low. You have these small little tiny sticks. Actually, if you exchange them for longer sticks, you can have more resolution in them. But then still, you have to deal with the resistance. I actually like to have quite the resistance on my sticks, so they're really not super stiff, but a little stiffer, so that I always have to kind of act against force. With the DJI remote, you do not have that. It's extremely loose, and I do not like that whatsoever. And that's for me reason enough almost to not buy this drone, because I do travel a lot. I'm currently in Bali. I love to travel. I love to film everywhere I go, and having another controller is kind of not good for me. Also, having another set of batteries that I cannot use with all my other drones, for me, is kind of a drawback. That might not be the same for you, because you might not be traveling that much, or traveling for you might be way easier. For me, it's not necessarily, and I do have to really be mindful about how much stuff I have, because I already have way too much with all my other camera gear. So another controller and extra set of batteries might weigh me down significantly. The Avata 2 is an amazing drone for so many purposes, and it's really a jack of all trades. It can do everything very well, especially controlled and smooth flights. It does freestyle if you really wanted to. It's not amazing or comparable at all to a proper freestyle drone, but if you're just somebody who wants to fly FPV without getting into all the nitty-gritty of programming, designing, building, maintaining, the Avata 2 is simply the best drone for you, period. Do not get into the bind and fly kind of build it yourself sphere if you don't really want to. I would have probably saved me a lot of time and money if I would have just gotten the Avata 2 for certain things, instead of trying to make my freestyle drone fiddle into this job and then in return crashing. Again, I do not own the Avata 2. I kind of do regret it, and I kind of wish that I got it right away. But also, I really don't like the controller. But yeah, that's all. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Avata 2, if you're an FPV purist as well, and if you think that my points are valid or not. And if you consider in 2025 to buy the Avata 2, go ahead, do it. There's nothing you can make wrong about it. The 04 just released, and the entire FPV community just lost its mind because of the quality. Just because the Avata 2's camera is already older, it's the same as the 04. Everybody loves the 04. So if you think, it might not be good enough, it is good enough. Buy the Avata 2. I do not have any affiliation with DJI. Obviously, I do not get paid whatsoever. I do not get a commission or affiliate link. But if you need a good, proper drone and do not want to get into the whole nitty-gritty, the Avata 2 is the best drone ever made, period. Can we argue about being the best FPV drone, freestyle drone? Absolutely not. But for what the Avata is, it is the best drone ever made. There is nothing that comes close to it. There's nothing that even remotely competes with it. It is the best tool for many jobs that no other drone can easily cover. Thanks for watching the video. video, like, subscribe, all the good stuff. Follow me on Instagram. I'm way bigger there. I'll share all my, FPV shenanigans there. I've got 10,000 followers there. I don't know if I want to do YouTube in the future, but right now it's enjoyable. So have fun flying, and I see you in the next video, maybe, potentially. Have a good one.